No black cats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Welcome to the Perfect Play Pursuit. We're here. The three boys are pursuing another Perfect Parlay UFC Brazil this weekend. We're going to break it down, main card for you guys here. And we're going to recap last weekend where, you know, we had a card. We had the ability to watch it. There were some moments that occurred. We're going to keep it quick. Dan, Alex, what's going on, guys? Dan, how you been, man?
Been doing all right. Didn't have the honor and privilege of watching this past week's card. I was out at a concert with my wife, her Christmas present.
Ooh, what did you see? Who'd you see?
I saw Lukey.
Casey Musgraves?
Who?
You see Casey Musgraves?
I don't know who that is. I saw Luke Combs at Penn State, the Beaver Stadium. It was a lot of fun, a lot of drunks. You know, I had to work some Jedi mind tricks to keep us all safe. The traffic at the end was horrific, but we made it through. Good times. Lost all my money. Good times.
Typical weekend for you.
So this is in Philadelphia area. I've been to concerts in that area, and it's.
I mean, it's like 3 hours away.
Not really anywhere close to the Philadelphia area. You moron.
I didn't hear where he said it was.
It's a Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium. Come on.
Oh, okay. Well, so is that Penn State territory?
That is precisely. Yes, that's where they play the ball game.
That's kind of just. I mean, you got.
Luke, don't sell yourself out as somebody who don't know ball, bro. Come on, you got to know ball a little bit better than that. Just play it off.
Never been to a game. But anyway, guys. So what I want to ask though is like, so you were dealing with more of a college drunk crowd that was kind of a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a crowd of college kids, but you know, people from all over the area. It's a very rural area, so a lot of country music fans came to show up and show out. So it was good. It was real good.
I would say that country and rap, despite their kind of like polar opposite kind of sounds, right? These days, you could really replace any rap lyrics with any country lyrics, and they kind of go hand in hand at this point. So they're both so corporatized, but you get a lot of the same riffraff at the shows where you get these, whether they be the drunk teens or just rowdy rednecks, you know what I mean? So people looking for a fight, you know what I mean? And a lot of these guys, they travel in packs. They come in like 8 guys to these country concerts, and they're all flanneled up with their shit kickers on, and it ain't a lady amongst them. And when you got 8 boys and no ladies, you know, they're all just feeding off each other, and then you got to bump into them. They're drunk. You're trying to get through the crowd.
It's bleacher seating, and you know, of course, it's like $25.
There's really no seats at all.
There's no seats. There's no seats.
First come, first serve, or just
not first come, first serve. There was there's assigned seating per se, but once you're in the area, you're in the area. That's kind of your spot. I had one guy be like, yeah, I'm coming back to my seat to meet back up with my wife after I get some drinks for us. And he goes, "Hey, are you with any other friends?" I'm like, "No." Am I being detained now, though? Like, what's going? So Luke, you'll know what friend I'm impersonating here. My wife's friend, right? Her boyfriend is sitting. He's giving me this whole story, trying to get me to move seats. I'm like, no. But, you know, besides that, there really wasn't all that much riffraff going on, besides the occasional dirty look when you're trying to get through to the seats, you know, bring back the drinks or the food or whatever. But it was all good.
I would never go to a riffraff concert.
Yeah, I personally am kind of done with live events of any kind for of any size.
Any of size.
I'm done with all sorts of live events. I can't even imagine one I would go to at this point. Just because it's like I've been there, done that. Like, yeah, you were with me. We went to music festivals all the time when we were younger, and it's like I've seen such a good era of it. I feel like it's now I'm not plugged in anymore. Everything's kind of come and gone for me now, and I'm more in the era of making my oasis, right? Like I want to buy a house. I want to build out my yard. I want to have my space, and I want to be away from everybody. Like nowhere near it.
And no crowds at this home.
No crowds. Exactly. No crowds. I mean, no, listen, I'm totally down to have like a banger ass 4th of July party with 500 people where the police come and they're like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, shit. Like I'm down to do that. Like, but I it's got to be on my terms. You know what I mean? Got to play my music. You know what I mean? Have
I
Alex
get Alex the
No
entire
music.
with his firearm. You know what I mean? Just in case. And then I'll have,
security.
I'll have someone else with a firearm watching him. You know,
Definitely.
all
A fail safe, so to speak.
triple airlocks. So anyway, my big takeaway from last week is Alex Perez. The fact that he was in the main event fight against Matheus Nicolau at all, it's like, who cares what happened, right? It's the bigger story is like, why were we being served up this main event? How weak is your division that a guy who hasn't fought or won in 10 years is the main event? And how weak is the guy fighting him that the guy who's been active gets knocked out in the first round, you know? So no matter what happened, it was going to be bad. But I said that to Alex, even though we picked Nicolau, obviously, on the show for a good reason. I said to Alex in the days leading up to the fight, I'm like, Perez is definitely going to win because this is a sport where shit like this happens all the time. And we all try to be the smartest guy in the room and be like, well, you don't want to pick Perez. It gives you a sick feeling, it gives you a sick feeling. So, but you sometimes have to swallow that sick feeling and just be like, no, things I don't want to happen all the time. Guys with meritless victories occur all the time, and it's sad to say Alex Perez's victory is like meritless, but it's just like you got to show up, you got to fight, you got to win.
Well, he gets one merit. I think that Nicolau should be cut, and also Starboy should be cut too.
No, Minnow Cap is my favorite fighter.
Pull out Merchant. If you're losing to Nicolau, you stink because Nicolau just lost to the worst guy ever. This guy was coming in on 7 losses, 7 pullouts, 7 terrible fights. 5 of them he got finished. And you go out there and you get finished by him in the second round. No, fuck that. Luke was telling me to hedge on Alex Perez. He ended up being right, but why? That it's possible that Luke was wrong, but also right? In no case scenario should you ever bet on Alex Perez ever in any scenario, and he showed you why in his last 6 fights. But you were right. I should have hedged in that scenario. It was bad. I was really aiming for a 3rd straight card over $1,000 in winnings, and I left my nuts on the table. They got smashed. And that'll happen. That happened with Aaron Blanchfield. You know what it told me? It's that on a main event pay-per-view, established guy like Alex Pereira, established guy like Max Holloway, I can put my faith in them. I shouldn't be putting my faith in Matheus Nicolau, and I shouldn't damn sure ever put my faith in a woman fighter. Whether it's Aaron Blanchfield or fucking Susan down the street, I'm not putting my faith in any of them for the rest of my existence.
Well, for year 5, my big thing is going to be not betting on lady fights, and also not fading bad fighters with worse fighters, and also not betting on sloppy heavyweight fights, and really just sticking to that golden ratio of Triple B certified picks that fall within the bettable criteria of being minus 150 to underdogs. That's the golden ratio I'm looking for. So for those of you who don't know, we have a Patreon where you can access open bet sheets. It's one single sheet with 4 tabs that lists out all of our picks, and then it lists out all of our bets we're placing individually that night. If you're following along with Alex's sheet, you'd see that he was coming up to some money, and if you bet alongside him, you could have easily cashed out, hedged out, or made your own call. But he had Onama, Guskov, and Nicolau, and Deniz, just those 3, I guess, were the one that survived. But that's going through 3-fight parlay with 2 underdogs and a slight favorite in Nicolau. He would have personally come away with $1,000 in profits if Nicolau won. So I sent him a simple text. I said, well, how much did you bet tonight? He said, between $200, $250. I was like, okay, well, just bet what you need on Alex Perez to win back at least that amount should he win. And then, you're still gambling. You're still making a decision. You're still saying, yeah, I'm going with this guy. But all you're doing is making – see, here's the problem, right? We never know what's going to happen 100%. So it's like, of course, we all are confident in certain picks going into the fight, right? That's why we bet on them. That's why we pick them. That's why we stand to win more money on one fighter than the other. But we bet every weekend. So if every week I play my bets like Battleship, right? It's like I'm putting out some bets, I'm putting out some parlays, and then I'm putting out individual bets, and then it's like as I look at how I am in my night, right? So if my individual bets paid off and I'm already in the profit, and I still have some parlays going. Yeah, I'm not interested in hedging. So I'm not going to lose any money tonight, no matter what. That's always the goal. The goal is to wake up Sunday morning and not say in my head, I lost money last night sitting on my couch. I lost enough money that I could have taken you lose $200. It's like, yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot to us, but $200.
It does to your significant other.
I was just about to say $200. When your girl wants to go out to dinner and you're like, nah, babe, we have to save money, and dinner would have been $180, but you just lost $200. It's like that's significant. That's in the grand scheme of things, it's my recreational money, and I want to keep my recreational money. I don't want to lose recreational money, and then if anything, like live to fight another day, like that.
Whatever, dad, loser, whatever. Guys, live Moss, live life more dangerously. You don't go up.
I didn't tell you to cash out. I just said, win $200 less and make
Luke, this is pocket change. It ain't nothing to a boss. I'm up so much money this year. I've won you guys so much money this year. And if you guys didn't have rocks in your brains, you would just look at my open bet sheet. You both have access to it. Bet it every week. And then guess what, Luke? It's a choose your own adventure. Bet my bets, and then you get to hedge and play your little, John Jones Diddy way. You know what I'm saying? But
I bet your perfect parlays every week, guys. I bet your perfect, and I leave a couple picks off. That I'm.
Don't bet my perfect parlay. That only has ever won once. You should be betting the other ones. That's where the value is. That is where the value is. My main card predictions are usually solid as all hell. And Dan, he might have gotten more picks correct than me yesterday or Saturday, and he might have done his little victory lap in the group chat. But you know what? I guarantee Dan did not have a single bet that was open when the main event happened. I guarantee he had no money riding on the main event.
Well, so I did not.
Get all those picks right, Danny. Get all those picks right. You guys are lucky I fucking lost this past weekend, because if I won, I would have been coming for blood today.
Well,
and
what?
I still kind of am.
Well, Danny lost with two fighters, and both. So Dan was on an island by himself with Figlack. Alex and I picked Austin Hubbard, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of thought that it was a close fight, and you could have given it either way.
That was a robbery. I thought Figlack easily won.
Yeah, I saw the first 5 minutes just after the show. I was like, let me see how I lost. I saw he dropped him. I was like, well,
yeah, I felt bad for you on that one, because I definitely thought he won that, and I had no money on Austin Hubbard whatsoever.
I was sick to my stomach. I couldn't even finish watching the fight. I was like, a robbery already.
My stomach, fam. You left your mom in the ends.
A couple picks that really sunk a lot of Dan's ships. A useless pick in Lion Top. I mean, he was a 5-1 favorite, never fought before in the UFC. That was silly. Never put him on any parlay. There's no value there ever.
Then he had a cool name.
But then you got Figlack, who, a bit of an outstretched favorite in a fight that should have been more like a pick'em. And then but even if those two guys didn't blow it for you, you would have never had a winning bet, because you had Jonathan Pierce in every one of your parlays. A fight that was also close. I know I told you that he got outclassed in every area in that fight, and I do think he did. In terms of everything that Pierce was able to do, even if he did it perfectly, even if he ended up in the most perfect dominant position, it was like a Mack truck versus a Volvo, because Onama was just able to turn into him if he had his back and take his guard, be in his guard, or just get up or shake him off. I mean, every time Pierce would use this burst of energy, and by the way, Pierce was in it till the last second. He didn't use all his cardio, but he would use his traits, right? The cardio, the ability to push pace, the ability to get in dominant grappling positions. But then it would be all for nothing, as Onama would just shake him off. And then anytime they were on the feet, Onama was piecing him up pretty good. So I was happy to see Onama win. I obviously picked him. Alex picked him. Big underdog, decent underdog. Glad to see him get the win. But my big play of the evening was in the open bet sheet in the patreon.com/perfectparlaypursuit, link in the description below. And in my open bet sheet, I had Bogdan Guskov by KO. To me, it's like, this was a sketchy card. It was a card where I didn't really know. My two most confident picks at the value would have been Onama and would have been Guskov. And Guskov was able to get the win. And this was one of the picks that I had done a lot of research on. I shared some screenshots on the show where Anthony Smith was able to touch Ryan Spann. He was able to touch Ryan Spann that first round, chip him up, but just didn't really have the power or wasn't really like sitting down in his punches enough to actually put Spann away. But just seeing, even when Spann was able to connect on Smith, he was leaving himself wide open. Seeing how Spann had been knocked out in the past, seeing Guskov's knockout over obviously a lesser opponent, but Puaga, the way that he was able to knock him out, the way he was able to clip him with precise accuracy, keep his eyes on him, have a lucidity in there, clip him again as he was falling to the canvas multiple times on that hairline, spots where Ryan Spann has been hit before. I saw it so clearly in my mind, but I also proved the faith with works by doing the research, going back, watching some fights, and it allowed me to put a big play on Bogdan Guskov, got him money line, got him by knockout, settled my night right then and there, won all the money I lost on some bets that I placed earlier back, won some profit. And then I even had a parlay going with Nicolau in the final leg of it to win another $250 I ended up letting it ride because I already had one. I was in the profit, so I didn't cash it out. That bet loss would have been a nice little cherry on top, but no worries. What can I say? I loved the Bogdan Guskov play. If we were in year 5, that would have been a play that I did big money on. And I think you guys are going to be really impressed with our strategies in year 5 and how we treat it, the new kind of format of the show. And without further ado, let's just break down UFC Brazil, because not too much else to talk about on the evening. I felt Mahashate disappointed against Benitez. I felt that
did he win?
Padilla, he won, but it's like he got his ass kicked too. You know, it's like Benitez is 60 years old. You're 6 foot tall in the fucking 155-pound division, like, or whatever it is. You should be able to fucking. You're the younger guy. You're the taller guy. You're the weight bully. You should be getting Benitez out of there if you're gonna win. You know what I mean? And Benitez kept it close. So the other thing I'll say is Padilla, worst call out ever. He calls out Gabe Benitez, who lost in the first fight of the night and is also 40 and eligible to be cut. It's like, who whispered in his ear backstage to call him out? That's stupid. For the sphere of all.
He called out Gabriel Benitez.
Yeah, for the sphere. It's like, yeah, we get it. You think you can beat Gabe Benitez. You just won one fight in the UFC that you took on short notice and wouldn't have even really probably been considered. It's like, what are you doing calling people like out and Benitez and all? Like, what the fuck? Useless shit. Nobody gives a fuck if you fight Benitez. Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, they could have just made that fight for the sphere, put it on the fucking second fight of the night. We would have been like, word, fine. You know what I mean? It's no more or less likely to happen now. Nobody cares.
I like it. It's outside the box. We got to go against the grain sometimes.
It was fucking crazy is what it was. It was the craziest.
And we're talking about it.
Don't use that. Don't the fucking the exception that proves the rule. No, it's not that. It's fucking stupid. That's why. Mardik, man, you were right, Dan. She got the shit beat out of her. She sucks. But even her opponent, right? Like, sucks too. Dontel Mays thought he lost that. I'll be honest with you, but super close fight. Machado sucks. Dontel Mays sucks. They all suck. Figlak, like we said. Yaya got the living shit beat out of him. The ever so, in my opinion, corrupt Jason Herzog let Honey Yaya take an ass whooping way longer than he should have in there. Late stoppage, in my opinion. Even though he stopped it on the feet, I'm saying, yeah, that was after he had gotten dropped and kicked around the mat fucking for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Prior.
And way less. He gives guys who are way younger, way more athletic, way less knocked out on their feet, way less rope too. And that's why it's such an anomaly. It's like, how do you get it so wrong in so many different ways?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, if you're going to be extra protective of anybody, maybe the 41-year-old guy who's fighting at 135. Maybe.
The guy who himself is wondering, do I still have it? Should I still be here? I won't know until I try. Is trying. You're watching it. You knew from the get-go he shouldn't have been in here. So why is your rope that long? Like, do you want him to just, make an argument for me? Okay, I'll play devil's advocate. Well, Luke, since he's so experienced and is such a vet, I need to protect him even less because he has. Well, why would I need to protect these young guys? They don't have as much experience and they have more of a road ahead of them, and we got to preserve these young supple bodies. All right,
and these young guys are full of piss and vinegar. They don't even know. They don't even know what's for their own.
I got to protect them for themselves. But yeah, he's mature. He can handle it. Well, that's even crazier. The refs should really have no prior background or knowledge about the fighters. They should have a standard protocol, a hypothesis followed by a procedure, followed by a fucking conclusion, right? Like a scientific method of conducting your refereeing. And by the way, it can differ from ref to ref. That's completely fine, but it has to remain consistent. And the only consistencies I'm seeing are consistent errors, consistent fuck-ups, consistent bad behavior. Guys who aren't physically or mentally there enough to do the job. Like Chris Taglioni can't physically get himself to the fight quick enough to stop it in certain moments. He also mentally is stupid. So what are we going to do? You know what I mean? He's Joe Biden in the physical, Joe Biden in the mental. You know what I mean? People can say what they want about Dan Miragliotta, but I'd rather have 10 Dan Miragliottas than a fucking Chris Taglioni. Okay?
It's the Hoss himself.
Yeah. Dan Miragliotta, he's the fucking man as far as I'm concerned. I love Dan Miragliotta. If you gun to my head, who's the fucking best ref? Dan Miragliotta. I'll be like, who's the ref you want to see in there? I'd say Dan Miragliotta.
How about this? I missed out on this, but history was made. First female ring announcer. Right? Wasn't there a moment Joe Martinez had to bow out? Charlie Arnold came in there.
You know, I didn't see the announce job.
I didn't see it either. I just read it.
I saw like the circulation of the news online. You know, everybody who watches this show knows we love Charlie Arnold, and I love seeing the professionalism that she brings. I love seeing the sort of elite pizzazz, the style and panache that she sort of brings to the job, the upper level, like the sort of like tier 3 version of what we've had in the past. Like that's her. And I just love Charlie Arnold.
I think tier 3 is worse than tier 1, no?
I don't know. She's top tier. Top tier. She's top tier. You know, I'd go as far as to say we don't deserve Charlie all not. If she wanted to go to the NFL, if she wanted to go to the NBA, I'd understand.
She could. She actually could.
Unlike John Anik, who would be best served as either the basketball or the football, Charlie Arnott could do anything she wants. She could be in any sport she could be talking about. She could be interviewing Caitlin Clark. She could be interviewing LeBron James. She could be interviewing Tiger Woods. You know what I mean? It's like, thank God she's here. We're happy to have you, Charlie. Brave. That was what fighters do, right? You rose to the occasion, not when it was easy, but when it was hard, when you were unprepared, you did it anyway. More than we can say about a lot of these fighters, more than we can say about Arman Sarukian, more than we can say about a lot of these guys who turn down fights, who are waiting for their perfect little moment, for like their High School Musical moment where everybody sings along and everything's choreographed and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna rise to the top now. It's like, no, that's not how life works.
Arman Sarukian's ready any place, anytime, anywhere. He doesn't care if you're
Islam Makhachev.
Huh?
He turned down Islam Makhachev. You didn't hear that news? They offered him Islam for July or some shit. He turned it down. He said, I'm not going to take that fight without a proper camp. 6 weeks isn't long enough.
Wait, like right after his fight at 300, they asked him?
After he beat Charlie Oliveira, he walks out. Hunter Campbell or one of the guys at the UFC, some of the matchmakers, they said to him, Islam, next, UFC something in
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. And he goes, I got to think about it. I got to talk about it. And then he said he turned it down. He admitted it. He went on DC and
that's so stupid. And how they rolled out that B-roll that quick of him and Dustin Poirier that night.
What's even more stupid, right? What's even more stupid is, well, here's the thing about the UFC, Alex. Sometimes they know that these guys are going to fucking say no. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they go, Dana White plays blackjack.
We gave him his opportunity.
Dana White plays blackjack better than fucking anybody. And yeah, he stands on 16 sometimes. You know what I mean? So that's just standing on 16. He goes, hey, yeah, here you go. Here you go, Arman. You can fight Islam in Abu Dhabi. You want to do that? He's like, no. He's like, okay, cool. We'll call you in a fucking year. Don't ever ask me for anything again. Fuck you. and now he's a little begging bitch with his hand out.
But you gotta understand, Arman Sarukian had 2 fights that night. Like he got in 2 different fights that night. He had to have some time to recover.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm gonna go say I'm about to say an unpopular thing, but like Drake told you, I'm also about to say a true thing. It's not masculine to fight somebody because of something they said or a verbal gesture or a physical hand gesture or anything anybody does to make you outside of yourself in that moment actually makes you the pussy and the bitch. Okay, that's all I gotta say. About that. Doesn't matter if you're from Russia, if you're from America, if you're from anywhere on the planet, okay? Maybe you just haven't been told yet, or maybe you grew up around a bunch of people who told you the wrong thing and do the wrong thing, and they've made it seem right to you, right? No matter where you're from, no matter who you are, no matter what your culture, what your country, I'll just explain something to you. If sticks and stones can break your bones, but words may never hurt you. And if you're walking to the biggest fight of your life up until that point, if you're walking to the biggest fight of your life, and some guy so distracts you that you need to interrupt that moment, possibly endangering your career, your livelihood, your ability to make money because of something he did. He won. He's now got you under lock and key and under control. Possibly even is going to get money out of you. What he did is now forcing you to not have money that you fought in a cage for, and is forcing you to go to an administrative hearing. Like, how much more of a bitch can you be not having the money you fought for and being forced to go and stand in front of a bunch of people who are going to literally judge you?
I think they should make an example of him. Throw the book at him. Throw him to throw him to jail. Put him in actual jail.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like,
that's assault.
Put him like he's not even an American citizen. He is assaulting, I'm presuming, an American citizen on American soil. Put him in Guantanamo Bay. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is like borderline
terrorism.
I'm just saying, like, call one of those 3-letter organizations about this, because we cannot have this. Like, listen, once it's like if somebody takes an American hostage overseas, no matter who they are, we gotta get them back, because it can't even be one. It can't even be one. It's you gotta draw a hard line. You gotta saddle up your boys. You gotta draw a hard line. So, what's next? If we have Arman Sarukian punching fans in this hands, what's next? What's next?
What is next? What is next? Hamzat says instead of saying he's gonna kill everybody, he just actually does.
Where's Hamzat been? Anybody got a beat on Hamzat?
He's fighting Hobbit Whitaker.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I think that's a match made in heaven for Hobbit Whitaker. No, don't get me wrong. I think Hobbit Whitaker ends up winning that fight. Hamzat Chimaev sucks.
We'll break that fight down.
Bo Nickel whoops Hamzat Chimaev's ass. On God.
Yeah, we'll break that fight down when it happens. But for now, let's just move on. I will say, nothing else. I'll say nothing else about that card.
Denise is gonna have trouble if he goes to his back from Austin Lane that easy.
Yeah, you're Brazilian and he played football and he took you down and is on top of you. You dishonor your country. I mean, you gotta at least, like, that would be like me going to Brazil and him beating me in football. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're playing. He's like picking the ball off, like, and getting his toes in bounds. You know what I mean? On me. And I'm like, listen, I know I never took the field. I never ever played football. I never took the field. But I'm from America. Like, I should be able to come over to fucking Brazil and play these guys in some football and beat them. Like, they don't even know 4th and inches versus 1st and 10. They don't even know what the hell. They don't even know. They don't know what the hell. They're playing soccer. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, like, Austin Lane doesn't know like a jiu-jitsu, and yet he was dominating him in the jiu-jitsu department. But because Austin Lane doesn't have time on his side and hasn't been able to build that pedigree of professionalism, he couldn't go out there and just George St. Pierre him for 3 fucking rounds. He couldn't go out there and just Clay Guida him for 3 rounds. Like, it's like, dude, you showed in round 1, you have the skill, you have the ability to do big things on the highest level. Like, if you can go into the UFC against any fucking opponent, take that opponent down and dominate them on the ground for 5 fucking minutes straight, like, hats fucking off to you. You know what I mean? But it's because he got into it late, because the mind is only able to be filled with so much data. And when he's on his feet, the ability to react, it's like what Joe Rogan was trying to tell Brendan Schaub. It's like there's just certain gaps that cannot be closed that will always be there, right? And if you're Alex Pereira, you can make those gaps smaller by making your strengths bigger. But if you're Austin Lane, he's not like coming in with a pedigree of anything, like wrestling, kickboxing, nothing to really fall back on that relates to the sport that he's doing now. As much, it's an illusion. It seems like it might, because we've been kind of thinking our whole lives, like, well, once the guys who would have gone to the NFL get into the UFC, we're gonna have a whole different level of athleticism. Guys are gonna get their heads kicked in the fucking stands. It's like, it's going to look different than you think. Because,
well, no, Luke, you got to understand, because there will be guys who were athletic enough to play in the NFL that come up and just do MMA, not guys who played football their whole life and then transform into MMA. It's going to be like a guy who played football in middle school and then found out that the wrestling team was sick, you know, like a Rampage Jackson type.
People are mistaking ability when it comes to being able to transition with potential.
Mm-hmm.
The thing we're waiting to see is the potential when a kid chooses not to play football or basketball, but stays with martial arts and evolves into that. That's what we're waiting to see, not the crossover. The crossover isn't the thing. That's not.
But some would say that that's John Jones. He had two brothers who played in the NFL. I would bargain to say John Jones is the guy who was athletic enough to play in the NFL, but was bad at football and just fought instead and wrestled his whole life instead of. But there will be a guy who comes up.
Well,
learning MMA to start, not learning wrestling, coming up, learning MMA and learning them all combined and be a super athlete.
You know what's not talked about enough either is what origin stories, right? And what gets you into something versus why you're still there. And if the thing that got you in did enough at your core to create that Iron Man fucking solid piece of you that just doesn't go away. And I think for guys like John Jones, it's at the early days of his UFC career, it wasn't necessarily a pathway towards financial independence even. It was just he needed to do it.
Some would say he was fighting against something else deep in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in the element of that has to do with head trauma and
accessibility to everything ever, like NBA players who are getting into the craziest stuff now.
To me, it's not just to me, it's okay, if you take somebody
Diddy stuff.
We'll talk about this in the Patreon. We'll talk
Diddy stuff.
We'll talk about this in the Patreon. Let's finish this, and by finish this, I mean finish this recap and break down UFC 301 Erceg versus Pantoja.
Before we get into 301, I have a huge announcement. So put a bow on this, and then I'll get right into it. Oh, as you can see, guys, vacant. The studio here is vacant. That is because this is the last episode from this studio. I will no longer be in this studio. You will never see me in this studio again. I bought a new studio. It will be here next week. And you, the viewer, it might not be completely done yet, but I promise you, you will get one of the best studios you've ever seen. Trump.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I will also be in a new studio, not next week, but very soon. And things are gonna be blossoming in year 5 like you guys have never seen before. Buckle up. That's all.
And one more thing, you might notice that my studio is a little bit dark. My dog ate my ring light. This is my connector piece from my ring light to my laptop. He ate it clean off, but I will be making improvements. I will take this as a sign, and I will use this to not only get back to baseline, but even improve further than that. So we're all getting better studio apartments, better just studios in general for the show. That's something to look forward to on top of the new format for the show.
You would think that a multi-$1,000 podcast like the Perfect Parlay Pursuit would be able to afford something way better than ring lights.
Ring lights are
and if you know what that impression is,
a ring light.
If you know what that impression is, put it in the comments and you will get a reward of some sort from me.
Sketch.
No. That one's a deep cut. That one's a deep cut, and I didn't do it how I should have because I was fearful that I might be called something.
All right. Well, look. We're gonna start from the first fight on the main card right now. We're gonna talk about Paul Craig versus Caio Baralho. To me, we got 2 or 3 pretty straightforward fights, and then a couple of really interesting matchups that I think there's a lot to consider. So I'm excited about UFC 301. I'm going to be in Arizona. So if you live in Arizona, specifically the Scottsdale area, just hit me up. Let me know what's good. Let me know what's going on in Scottsdale. I'm going to be in Scottsdale. I'm going to be in the area for UFC 301.
Better be careful. Don't be running your mouth. That's an open carry state.
I won't be running my mouth. And Arizona is a gambling state, so I will be able to earn another gym badge, which, if you know, going into FanDuel, they separate everything by state. And you go, oh, Luke, you use FanDuel? I use every fucking sports book, dog. I'm not new to this, dude. I have every single app, okay? So, yeah, I have FanDuel. It's one of the apps I use. So, FanDuel, right? They separate you state by state. It's like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I have Colorado. I have Illinois. I have like all of the states I think that I've bet in, right? Illinois might not be one, I forget. But so now I'll be able to it's pretty satisfying. It's kind of like Xbox 360 achievements where you get like, a satisfaction of seeing like, yeah, I gambled in that state, So I'll be able to
Luke's your boy who has Bumble, Tinder, Grindr, FarmersOnly.com,
the
whole
one
gambit.
The one I really want is like the one for the there's a dating app for only unvaxxed people. So that's the one that's the one I want to get. Keep the impures out, you know what I mean?
I mean, if anything, I would be on Raya so I could become more impure and be a celeb, be amongst the celebs, get some adrenochrome. But we'll talk about that more on the Patreon.
Yeah. So check this out. This is how it breaks it down. Colorado, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've gambled in 5 states. Well, including 6, because Maryland's just the one that it's on right now. But this will be my 7th state that I've sports bet in on the mobile phone. So I'm pretty pumped. I'm excited to see what Arizona has to offer. Maybe you can do casino in Arizona. I don't know. You can't do casino in Maryland. Can't do blackjack in Maryland. Maybe I can do blackjack in Arizona. That'd be crazy.
Wow. No, I was wondering why you were going so hard on the blackjack when you were here. I was like, I hope that he doesn't do this every single night.
No. Just when I'm in a state that allows that, like, a little blackjack, It's the best when your kid's napping in the car and you don't want to move them because you don't want to wake them up. So you're just sitting in the car and just blackjack. When you don't respond,
on 16.
When you don't respond, it makes it seem sad.
It is sad, and the saddest part is that you're playing against not a real dealer. And I try to tell you that those games are rigged. You're never going to win those.
Bro, I'm going to send you some videos of dealers literally going, okay, here, let me shuffle, and I'll deal all the cards in order and suit order. And they can do this with sleight of hand magic. Like,
I know that.
Dealer, I trust way less than a fucking computer.
Luke, I know that. But on your computer, are you even Wait, hold on. Are you even counting the cards to see if there's multiple decks?
It's fucking frowned upon, and
it's not illegal.
Policy, and they'll fucking ban your ass for that, dude.
It's not illegal.
Yeah, it is.
No,
that's fucking illegal.
It certainly is not.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm excited about UFC 301. I'm going to be gambling in Arizona. If you're in Arizona, let me know, and we'll hang out. So Paul Craig, Caio Barallo, I might want to stay at your house too. I'm going to be with a group of guys. Things get too rowdy. If it gets a little bit too Viva La Bam, if it gets a little bit too Jackass, if it gets a little too Wild Boys, I might need a place to stay. So let me know if you're in Arizona. And Paul Craig, 7 losses, taking on Caio Barallo, just 1 loss. Meanwhile, these guys are still ranked within 8 or 9 positions of each other. Caio Barallo, the 15 ranked middleweight. The card is for him. I'll be very surprised if Paul Craig doesn't get poisoned on the way to the card. We know that, or we suspect at least, that Arman Petrosian was poisoned in his last attempt to fight in Brazil. These Brazilians are getting a little wild. I don't hate it. Paul Craig, Lambda Slaughter in this situation. All of Paul Craig's strengths are Caio Barallo's strengths plus. You know what I mean? What's Paul Craig going to do? Is he going to do jiu-jitsu against Caio Barallo? Caio Barallo is going to get Paul Craig to the mat and smash his fucking face.
Paul Craig might just pull him into his guard and get his face smashed.
Paul Craig is losing this fight. He's getting finished. The only question is, will Caio Barallo hammer him into the fucking mat with hammer fists, or will Paul Craig turn his back and get choked out? Caio Barallo by finish, 100%. My obvious as fuck, can't be more obvious. And if Caio Barallo, it's never not going to happen. 100 out of 100 times, in my opinion.
Dishing out bad advice on the pod. Very first pick. I'm not going to go as far as saying Paul Craig is going to win, but Caio Barallo for a finish? No.
So what are you going to say? Why would you even say that then? So what are you going to say?
He said that he's guaranteed going to finish him.
Okay, wait,
he plays it safer than anybody. He's Mr.
Yes,
Safe.
I have some looked crack cocaine.
Dan, you also said that Paul Craig was going to beat Johnny Walker. And I told everybody on this podcast that Johnny Walker was going to play Paul Craig's head like the fucking bongo drums. And what did he do? He played his head like the fucking bongo drums. And you were upstairs watching football playoffs while that fight happened because you knew it was coming. And when I came up and I told you, hey, remember when I told you Paul Craig was going to get his head knocked around like it was the fucking Liberty Bell? You said, and you said no, and he was going to win. I said, he just got his head fucking smashed around like he was a Plinko ball getting dropped down in fucking Price is Right. And you just said, whatever, I don't even care. And you didn't even give me any satisfaction when he lost that night. You didn't even give me anything. Like, you don't get to just come on this show and talk all this shit about guys being like you said he was gonna beat Johnny Walker. Now you're saying he's not gonna get finished by Kyle Browder. So what happens when Kyle Browder finishes him in the first fucking round?
He's going to win by decision. It's going over 1.5. Over 1.5 is the play here. Mr. Play It Safe, Mr. Jab.
In Brazil. You think Kyle Browder's going to come out there and just touch gloves back? Okay, the crowd's going to be going, ooh, 5 more, ooh, 5 more.
I think someone just broke into my apartment, but I'd rather do the podcast right now.
Go check it out.
No, I don't want to. Everything's fine. Let me see. Let me see here.
I hope they come in and fucking kill you.
Let's see. Kyle Barallo, 15-1. Let's see how many finishes he has. What is this?
He doesn't have a lot of finishes, and Dan is right because I was super confident.
All right, decision. Last finish. All right, against Olajaychuk, my boy, but you know, that's
yo, you just diss yourself, bro.
That's
you
whatever.
Just diss yourself. You're talking about how bad he is and he can never get finished, and he finished your boy.
All right, well, if it's worth anything, that was by rear naked choke. He's not rear naked choking Paul Craig. Yeah, this is decision all the way. It's got decision written all over it. At least do yourself the favor. Over 1.5 is minus 250. That's an easy free space on the bingo board. Over 1.5.
Dan is like anti-value. He does not like.
Dan comes on the show every week and goes
minus 210, even better. Minus 210.
This is Dan's pitch to the audience every week. Las Vegas is powered by very sophisticated algorithms and probability actuarial scientists. They've made this a minus 250 line. Do you think they're wrong? Come on. You really think that this is what's going to happen? So when is Vegas? Who knows more, you or Las Vegas, Nevada, Luke? I mean, it's like this is the game, Dan. This is the game that we play. Like,
get your lollipop because you're a sucker, and and Dan, you can't like come on when Luke's like Kyle Barallo by finish and be like, that is the worst advice I've ever heard. Paul Craig is not winning this fight. You can't also take the same guy, though. You can't be like,
you just
why?
Think he's not going to finish him. So
he's going to bet him by finish. He's going to lose for
so
no
he
reason.
gave 50% accurate. He just gave you
straight up.
He gave you 50% accurate data. 50% of the accurate might not be true, but he still gave you like everything he said was off the wall.
That's the game we play. Half right. No, you just fucking lose.
There's like 4 ways that I could win, and only one that your outcome could happen. Meaning Paul Craig could break his leg, and the fight stops just because he gets injured. Paul Craig could get disqualified. Paul Craig could get choked out. Paul Craig could get knocked out. So there's 4 ways I could win. The only way you could win is if 15 minutes after this fight starts, it's still going, and the Brazilian fans are booing and throwing their beers into the fucking cage. That's the only way that outcomes to you. Do you think when the UFC matchmakers sat down, they said, we're going to put Paul Craig, an absolute glass cannon fucking crazy man who will fucking do the craziest things in every fight. We're going to send him to Brazil for a boring fight that goes to decision. And we're going to put him against the finisher who plays into all Paul Craig's areas that he wants to fight. These guys
He's not a finisher. He doesn't finish anybody.
He's not a finisher.
He's a finisher.
No, he's not. He's the
decisions.
Floyd Mayweather of fucking boxers from Brazil.
Luke, Dan is correct in that aspect because last time I took Kyle Barallo by finish and he couldn't get somebody who was terrible out of there. I forget who he fought in his
yeah. Let me pull that up.
Petrosian, Muradov.
Oh, Petrosian, yeah.
Magomedov.
Abus Magomedov. In
Omar
Gadziev.
Yeah,
Okay,
terrible fighters.
He has not finished anybody in the UFC yet besides Lord. But Paul Craig is worse than all those guys.
He had to win. He had to win twice in the Contender Series. They're like, "Oh, you're so fucking boring. You need to prove it twice over."
Yeah, Bo Nickel, he's boring too, right? That's why.
Yes, he is boring. He's very boring.
Bo Nichols
That's
never
all
went to a
finishes.
decision once.
All finishes and knockouts.
And most of them were in the first round. He's only seen the second round once. What are you talking about? It doesn't get much more exciting than that.
Was the UFC happy with his last performance? Did they like what they saw? Were the fans happy?
I was stoked.
I mean,
No.
I love seeing Cody Brundage.
Let's have an honest debate here. Let's have an honest.
Anyway, I'm going to go with Caio Borralho. I'm going to give a guarantee this week. I guarantee that I get every single fight on the main card correct. And if not, we'll come up with a stipulation later.
Okay, cool. So yeah, trophy certified, Caio Borralho. Michelle Pereira versus Ego Preteria. I liked this fight a lot better when it was the original matchup, which was
Mahmoud Murzadov.
Yeah, and I liked it even better when it was the one before that, Pereira versus fucking Wonder Boy. That would have been my dream fight. I really wish that fight happened. I hate now that we're getting minus 420 favorite on Michelle Pereira here when we had him at pretty much almost underdog odds. I think he was some underdog.
Dan, Luke is still talking about Wonder Boy, and Michelle Pereira has been booked 5 times since the Wonder Boy fight. This will be the 5th fight he's been booked for.
Dude, Wonder Boy, you're a yellow belly South Carolina coward. I fucking can't believe you wouldn't fight it. And then you came out with your communist handout begging for more money. Like, I know memberships must be down at that kid's school, but goddamn, like, that was pathetic behavior.
Do you know how much it takes to fill that bus? You think the gas prices were hitting you in that Hyundai. Wait till you see how much it costs to fill that daggone bus up. Pick up all those damn kids.
I'm just glad the very next fight, Wonder Boy got his little South Carolina chicken neck snapped off his body by the Rachmaninoff, you know what I mean? Because, we're still owed a pound of flesh from Wonder Boy, and we'll get it. We'll definitely get it.
And I also need a Rock Lobster parody about Rachmaninoff. That's all I want. Make that song.
Rachmaninoff?
Yeah.
All right, so listen, I can't do that again. The kid's about to be asleep. I'm going with Michelle Pereira. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's pretty much my favorite fighter. I love Michelle Pereira. I picked him against Wonder Boy. That fight never happened. I picked him against I picked him against Petrovsky. Knew that he was going to knock Petrovsky out. Even Petrovsky's buddies knew he was going to get knocked out. Joe Pfeiffer and fucking Sean Brady were on their podcast saying, yeah, Pereira by first round knockout. So I'm going with Michelle Pereira here, but I just wanted to just make a note real quick. A month, 2 weeks, and 4 days ago, Dan picked Lord to beat Michelle Pereira. Michelle Pereira went in there and he fucking just, for every second of that fight, walked Lord down, beat the shit out of him, grabbed his neck and choked him out. And I just wanted to say that, Dan, you were wrong again. And I can almost guarantee you guys, Dan's loving the plus 320 on the Ukrainian, even though I've told him many, many times. I've said, Dan, Ukraine is out. It's all Gaza now, okay? We're about to have the first ever Gazan fighter, I think, coming up soon. So that's where the marketing's getting shifted now. Okay?
Well, my tax dollars say otherwise. Our $60 billion is a lot more than the 20 or so that, whatever, I'm not getting into that. But you are right with the big.
Now you don't want to talk geopolitics. Fine.
Yeah, we.
I honestly don't even know who those people are.
You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck, a road apple, Newman. The Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the herd on the Ukraine.
Bro, Seinfeld's coming out with a movie this Friday. You can't be putting out free content like that. He's gonna be coming after your ass. And we're on YouTube. Jeez. What are you thinking?
Fair use, bro.
It's fair use, Dan.
All right. Fair use.
We don't make any fucking money from the YouTube. We're not monetized. We can literally watch an entire movie on YouTube, play it, and what are they gonna do?
They'll take down the channel. Anyways,
you can only copyright things people are making money on.
I'm taking Michelle Pereira. All right, I'm not taking the plus 320 dog, although there are some juicy dogs on this card we should all be wary of. But this one's not it.
I mean, I like Pateri. I thought he did really well in that fight against Rodolfo Bellato. He pretty much should have gotten the win there. He beat the fuck out of Rodolfo Bellato to the point where the ref could have stopped it, probably should have stopped it, and then ended up just gassing out and got finished in a way that wasn't necessarily as bad as the way he was beating on his opponent, and the ref stopped it. So 4 months, 3 weeks ago, he should have gotten that win. Then he beat up the guy, Robert Bryczek. You came in here and told us Robert Bryczek.
Oh yeah, that was a bad one. That was a bad
you talked us into him. You said you watched the tape.
Dan loves Polish people more than anything. Eastern Europeans are Dan's favorite fighters.
Michel Pereira is a capoeira fighter who, in his early days of his career in the UFC, was taking big-time risks, including a very exuberant and energy-exerting walkout where he was dancing and moving and doing front flips and back flips and fucking cartwheels and shit. Then he goes in there and loses to the likes of fucking whoever. He gets beat by fucking Tristan Connolly. So my thing is, we've seen a maturing of Michel Pereira that nobody's really noticed yet. And he's out there fighting like one of the best fighters in the division. And people haven't caught on yet. People have caught on now. He's minus 420 favorite. So
535.
This is almost where I go jump ship, because although I do believe he's really good, short notice change up situation for Proteria, who's hungrier than he's hungrier than a fucking, he's hungry. And I'm just saying, like, Pateria is going to be swinging fucking leather, and anything can happen. And Michel Pereira, with the Brazilian crowd coaxing him into an entertaining capoeira fucking match off, he could end up getting on the receiving end of a knockout that I hate to see. I'm still riding with Pereira. I think he's going to win. I'm rooting for him. But as a bettable guy, I'm not betting him to win by finish, and I'm not betting him to win by decision, and I'm not really looking to take any fucking sort of action on minus 500. So it's just a fun fight to watch.
The beauty of this main card is that if you take chalk all the way through, you can just bet on the other guy and make all your money back just in case. You know what I mean? Like this is you parlay all the favorites, and then you bet against them in every single fight, because like
you parlay all the favorites, you hope the first 4 hit, and then exactly, you just kind of like how much
but even if you put $50 on all the chalk on the main card in this one, and this is a little genius gambling advice for me. You put $50 on all the chalk on the main card. You got 3 guys in there that are plus 300. You put $5 on him, you win that $50 back. You put $10 on the other guy, you win all your money back. So like at the end of the day, this is a very bettable card, very, very winnable card, very easy card to come away with money.
You got to be willing to go wabi sabi.
See, and this is the difference between an Alex Perez. I thought Alex Perez had no chance to win that fight. I think I can see Igor finding a way to win this fight. I'm going to take Michel Pereira. I'm going to bet Michel Pereira. But, this is anyone's game. Anyone can win this. This isn't 135 pounds. The fact that fucking Mateus Nicolau got knocked out by, there isn't a 125-pound man in the world that can knock me out. Get on a scale and try to knock me out. Please. I am 260 pounds. Get out of here. Michel Pereira is going to beat the shit out of him, but you got to just hedge on Ihor Pereira because and put Michel in all your parlays and then hedge against him with Ihor. I think that's the only way to play this. Just take him as
willing to take a beating too, and he's willing
100%. Even though the Ukraine is weak and the Ukraine will get a hurt and put on him in this one, I can see a way where Ihor is still there and Michel Pereira is tired. So, like I said, put Michel Pereira, use him as a free space in every single one of your parlays, and then put money on Ihor Pereira as well, because he's a huge underdog and it just makes sense.
All right, next we got our friend of the show, Anthony Smith, taking on Vitor Petrino. Anthony Smith, long, rich history with him.
Friend of me. He's
making himself a friend of me of every single person in the world, it seems, at this point. Nothing I see on YouTube about Anthony Smith is positive right now.
Yeah, he thinks he can beat Alex Pereira. He was like, other than his left hook and his leg kicks and his massive size and his massive power, there's not really too much special about that guy.
Athletes with podcasts, a lot of the football and basketball players have podcasts now. It's like, guys, there's a time and a place, and there's a type of athlete that should have this sort of thing going. It shouldn't just be that every fucking NYU major fucking with thick black glasses is telling these guys you should have a podcast. It's getting a little annoying. So Anthony Smith, ugly as sin, face for radio, and yet is all over the commentary desk with the UFC. I was going to mention before, like, I think Alex Perez like sold his soul to the devil, because if you think about it, he was given like so many title shot opportunities, and like he's been given like a lot of like weird ass main event spots and shit that like just don't even make any sense. It's like, who does he know? What is going on?
He's going to come up in the Diddy case. MMA fighter from New Mexico who also lost 6 fights in a row and just won last weekend, but we're not going to say his name.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how does he keep getting these opportunities? And then Smith, kind of the same thing. It's like, what does he have? What kind
Dude,
of
Kamaru Usman was saying the same thing. He was like, it's kind of like a slap to the face to all these guys who are like, or I don't know if it was Kamaru Usman who was saying it, but some fighter or someone was saying like it's a slap in the face when a guy constantly misses weight, constantly pulls out, lost his last 6 fights, and then you're rewarding him with a main event on a Apex card. Like, granted, an Apex card, I'd rather be on the prelims of a real card than an Apex card, but at the same time, a main event's a main event, brother. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what's going on there. And same with Anthony Smith. It's like, why are we being force fed him? Like, why is everybody he's
dude, it's because of that one knee to the head of a grounded opponent that
and
all the guys that John Jones has wronged get lifetime jobs at the UFC. DC, Anthony Smith, any other, Rashad Evans, any guy that John Jones has done wrong by everyone's standards gets a lifetime job at the UFC because they're like, hey, sorry, like this is our guy. Like,
yeah, it's interesting.
We've invested too much time and money into this guy to like let any of his wrongdoings get in the way of his legacy.
Well, I think also that anytime a fighter becomes a victim, then the super soft media that surrounds the sport that we love so much just really kind of pushes attention on them. And what happens is this: fighters who are weak and need a lot of like attaboys and encouragement, the media members give them that. So those media members know they can call them and get interviews because they're like their scratching post. They're like their little comfort blanket to these fighters. So they're always like telling them like, that like things are good when they're bad. So then they get those interviews. So what happens is the fighters get pushed out to us more. And then by metrics and analytics, people are convinced like, oh, these people are getting attention. They're fan favorites. So then they get the jobs with the UFC. But it's like, do people like Anthony Smith more, or do they like Kanato Moicano more? Do people like Anthony Smith more, or do they like?
But Luke, here's the thing: it's not just guys who have been wronged by John Jones. It's guys who have wronged by John Jones and took it with a smile. You've got Dominic Reyes who bitched and bitched and bitched and bitched, and what did he get? Nothing. You got Thiago Santos. He went and found another job. He was like, they fucking robbed me, man. I'm taking my ass to the PFL. Like, you got all these other guys who complain and complain and complain and complain about it. But Anthony Smith's like, I just like getting kneed in the head while I'm on the ground. Honestly, like it was a easier fight than I had in my garage that one time. And then he gets a job. Like it's any of these guys whenever. And shout out to John Jones. Love John Jones. Luke, I see you're still repping that picture. I mean, that's like having a Diddy poster up nowadays. But that ain't me, son.
Bro, no. John's the man. He's the best. You're gonna miss him. Everyone's gonna miss him when he's gone. And
100%.
I love John. So he's my favorite. So listen, Vitor Petrino, Anthony Smith. This is one where I would say to Dan, like, look, Vitor Petrino couldn't finish Tyson Pedro. Vitor Petrino couldn't finish Pleasure Man Anton Tricali. Anthony Smith. He just got knocked out 4 months ago, but ultimately, like, is a guy who goes to decision with the likes of Johnny Walker, goes to the decision with the likes of Ryan Spann, goes to decisions at times with, he went to a decision with John Jones. So it's like, you think Anthony Smith, he's got 20, this will be his 20th loss.
Anthony Smith survives this. I think Petrino wins by decision.
Yeah.
Anthony Smith finds the way to the end of this fight. I take Petrino by decision in this one. Like I said, this is another one of these chalk picks, just like the last one. You can hedge on Anthony Smith. He's like a plus 400 underdog. You might as well put both Vitor Petrino and Michel Pereira on every single parlay you have. You will have to bet a fraction of the money to make that and more on their opponents because they're such big underdogs.
Well, what I was gonna say is, the fact that Smith got knocked out 4 months ago and is 35, and this guy's 9 years younger than him, something about that makes me want to just say Petrino's going to finish him, possibly even by knockout. But that being said, it's like I'm telling you guys, like my thing. It's like I agree. I think this one more so than the Caio Peraio Paul Craig fight is one to look at the young guy as a possible. Yeah, he's going to win by decision, not by finish, even though he's such an outstretched favorite. I lean more towards this one than the other one, but I still think both guys in Brazil, both Brazilians get finishes. Anthony Smith, Paul Craig, they're buddies on the Believe You Me podcast. They're going to be on the Believe You Me podcast talking about how they both got their asses beat, but how they still had a nice time in Brazil. All right, I got to pee. I'll be back.
Vitor Petrino by knockout.
The beaches were good, mate, but the fight was a little hot.
What the hell is that?
That Paul Craig, of course.
All right,
You
so
take
we're
Petrino by knockout, you said?
Petrino by knockout.
Damn. No, I think Anthony Smith. I think you guys have a lot less respect for Anthony Smith than I do. And I don't have much, but you know, you gotta give the guy his respect where it's due, in my opinion. But like he's a durable guy, you know, especially on the ground where Petrino is probably gonna end up trying to take this. Or Anthony Smith might take it there. Who knows? Next up, we got the king of fucking Rio making his gallant return to Rio de Janeiro versus the young man, Jonathan Martinez, the Dragon. Enter the Dragon Jr. is your opponent. He's coming in on short notice, I believe, correct? Wasn't somebody else supposed to be in this spot? It doesn't show. It doesn't show.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I think this is what it is.
Wow. It must have got announced later than some of the other fights then, because I do remember this was a little bit later than the other ones, but I digest. Guys, I'm going to go with Jose Aldo here. I think Jose Aldo has everything it takes to make another run to a title shot and then get knocked out by Sugar Sean O'Malley. And I think that's just how it's going to be. I think that he can beat 90% of the guys in this division, especially Jonathan Martinez, unpolished. He's lost in the UFC before. He cuts a fuck ton of weight. Jose Aldo is a tough son of a gun. 3-rounder. He's not going to fade later in the fight. He usually does in the 4th and the 5th round. He starts to fade a little bit. Not going to have that problem in this one. It's going to be all gas, no brakes. Jose Aldo is going to come in. Jonathan Martinez is going to try to throw some leg kicks at Jose Aldo, the king of leg kicks. Ain't going to work, son. Jose Aldo is going to beat the brakes off of Jonathan Martinez. Although he is older, and this is, you know, they say 35-year-olds lose at a whatever percent clip, 35 and up when it's welterweight or lower. You know, I loved watching cute Maddie Betts. Maddie Betts, you're such a little cutie sweetheart.
Minty.
No, Maddie Betts is the guy he does a podcast with Gilbert Burns and Hanato Moicano. It's the Show Me the Money podcast.
Oh,
motherfucker.
Gotcha.
Maddie Betts, so cute. He read that stat thinking it was for all weights when he was trying to make a case to bet on Jamal Hill instead of Alex Pereira. Adorable, but it's welterweight and under for that, 2 and 35
situation. And also it's a percentage. So like, yeah, it's not 100%. Some of them win.
100%, Luke. But at the same time, heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight are, common for older guys like 35 and up to be able to win those fights. Think of a Yoel Romero. Think of fucking Randy Couture. Think of DC. Think of all these guys who went later into their career at these higher weights. Like it's not the same statistic, but it was adorable to watch you do that, Maddie. I love you, and I think the highest of you. You're a little cutie pie. I'm going with Jose Aldo. He is old for the weight class, but you got to think like Jose Aldo. If you take that, Jose Aldo is the anomaly for that statistic because he beats the shit out of 90% of the guys in this division commonly, and then he'll run into a hammer like Merab, or run into a hammer like Piotr, or run into a hammer like Aljamain, Max Holloway. He can beat 90% of the guys in the UFC, Jose Aldo could fight heavyweight and win. Jose Aldo wins this fight. The King of Rio will take another ride through the favelas on his white horse.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. I'm taking Jose Aldo as well. I think that the fact he left the UFC and is coming back to the UFC leaves me with a lot of questions. Was he outside of the USADA testing pool? That's my biggest question. If that's the case, then that 37 becomes fucking 30 pretty quick. You know what I mean? The fight's also in Brazil. They're going to favor Aldo. They're going to support Aldo in any way they can. He can probably miss weight and they'll say he made it. I mean, he can, like, there's going to be a lot of things in his case.
His worst loss is Marlon Moraes, when Marlon Moraes was on a tear, and that was a split decision, and got him a title shot because Dana White disagreed with the decision. Every other guy, Max Holloway, Peter Yan, Merab Davishvili, Conor McGregor, that's it. Like, this guy is not fucking touching Jose Aldo.
The Merab fight was close, and he just held him up against the fence the whole time. Really
He rocked him. He rocked him in that fight.
I'm going with Aldo because I think having the time off, returning back, this is fun again. It's in Brazil. This is fun again. The pressure is on, but it's appropriate. Pressure is going to be even worse for Martinez. You know, Brazil is one place where it can be a home game for a lot of these Brazilian guys because, you know, just think about how intimidating it is. Like, to even, like, I'm flying to Arizona soon. Like, even that's kind of like still like a mental, like, okay, I got to go. I got to check in for my flight. I got to go to the airport. I got to get on the plane. I got to go land. I got to get in the shuttle. I got to get to the place. I don't know where I'm going. Like, it's a lot to think about, right? Now imagine you're going to Brazil, right? So it's like you're going to another country. They speak a different language. They have different rules. You show up. Everybody's speaking a different language. Your brain, your nervous system.
Half the people in Arizona are going to be speaking a different language, brother.
Fair enough. But I speak Spanish. So it's like when you are going to Brazil, like, what did George St. Pierre say? He said, when you have a fighter like BJ Penn and he has really good reaction time. Actually, BJ Penn is like the fastest reaction time of any fighter in any division. And what you need to do, he said, is overload his central nervous system with feints and with fakes so that you can get him constantly reacting. And then by the later rounds, he's going to fade because it's too much to compute. I think that too much compute factor is going to be Jonathan Martinez's whole week. And then I think when he drinks every glass of water somebody hands him, a Brazilian's going to fart in it. Right,
it's going to have the Aldo dust in it.
It's going to have that Aldo dust in it. Yeah. I mean, they're going to be farting in his water, every single one of them. So
more farts than are already in Rio de Janeiro water. And there's already a significant amount of farts in that water.
Yeah, so he's gonna be like, I heard I don't want to get Montezuma's revenge. I got my bottled water. They're like, oh yeah, bottled water. I'll open it for you. You know,
we've become the Terrence and Phillips show. If we're relying on Luke making fart noises with his voice, we're the Terrence and Phillips
it's
show.
Jose Aldo. Dan will be Triple B certified.
No, we're gonna go with the Dragon, Jonathan Martinez. And you know, I'm glad that Jose Aldo.
Drago. I thought it was Jonathan Drago Martinez.
He might have changed it.
Yeah, it says Dragon now, but I thought it was Drago. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm always up to date
Because he's dragging these nuts on your face.
that may be happening come this fight.
I love the balls on my mouth.
I'm happy that this fight is going to be in Brazil for Jose Aldo because he's going to be lying out on the beach when his legs are chopped down by El Drago, the Dragon, Jonathan Martinez. Those leg kicks are going to be coming in hot. The volume is going to be in his face. He's going to be regretting instantly coming out of retirement. But when it's all said and done, he'll do the glove thing. He'll have his moment. That's what it's all about. It's only for the moment to retire. It's not about the win. It's not about the loss. And that's a tough place to be where it doesn't matter.
He wasn't retired. He was.
It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He doesn't care. He just wants to have one last fight in Brazil. And that's all that matters. It's a lot bigger of a deal for Jonathan Martinez and his career ascending on this multiple fight win streak, going into a title shot in a young man's career. Listen, nobody cares about the travel. He's got a manager, okay? He just listens to the manager. Oh, go here. All right, I'm there. It's not that big a deal. It's a big deal for us because we don't have that kind of representation.
But his manager doesn't have
Professional
to.
athlete.
If he's relying on his manager for that, Dan, his manager doesn't have to fight on Saturday and doesn't know what it takes to, digest that type of time difference, all types of
I'm
elevation
sure his
difference,
coaches
things
do.
like
I'm sure
that.
his team
Listen,
does.
Dan, here's the reality. Jonathan Martinez is a little millennial twerp who is constantly like, oh, I'm super chill. Everything's chill. Like, I'm chill. I'm just chilling. And he's going to get his fucking teeth knocked out as a result of that complacency and the me attitude that all these millennials have looking at their smartphones. Okay. So get off your smartphone, stop playing Candy Crush, get off of Instagram, get off of TikTok, and focus on the fight and actually give a fuck, because this little like stoner look, like like it's not working. Okay,
Dan, Hanato Moicano called. He has a message for you.
Betting me, you are fucking retarded.
That was Hanato Moicano. He called me. He heard Dan was betting against the King of Rio, and he just had to get that off his chest.
Well, Dan, I think that you're just doing what you think the cool kids are all doing, but
Dan always thinks he's the coolest kid at the Kool-Aid stand. He thinks he's over there. He's never gotten a co-main event right. He's never gotten a main event right. He doesn't understand how later in the card works. He doesn't understand that Jose Aldo and Rio better than Jonathan Martinez anywhere, ever. Jonathan Martinez, Dan, whatever. Let's get on to the main event
it's
here.
fine. It's fine. I also think Dan thinks Jonathan Martinez is going to be like towering over Aldo, and they're the same height. And the other thing, yeah, it's
I
like
don't think that at all.
like let's see, Jonathan Martinez beat over the last 2 years Vince Moraes, don't even know who he is, Cub Swanson, old as shit, Said Nurmagomedov, impressive by decision, and Adrian Yanez knocked him out with leg kicks. All right, this is all very, that's all pretty impressive. That's all very impressive.
But he lost to somebody
Like he's being
bad.
Saved Nurmagomedov in his prime, and I'm worried about
He
Okay,
Jose
ready?
Aldo's
Davey
retirement
Grant.
fight.
He lost to Davey Grant, Andre Sukumtal, and Andre Ewell. So get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Early on, when he was a young pup.
Matt Schnell.
He's seasoned now, baby. He's nice and seasoned. He's ready to roll.
I'll explain one more thing to you. Jonathan Martinez, this fight for him will be what the Sadiq Youssef Edson Barboza fight was for Sadiq.
Okay.
Precisely.
All right.
Precisely.
Okay, so main event time. Alex the Cannibal. Alexander the Cannibal Pantoja. Pantoja. Thing about Pantoja is he was driving Uber for a bit, and I respect that. You got to do what you got to do to make ends meet. Steve Erceg calls himself Astro Boy. Hate him. I hate him. I don't know why, but something about him just tells me stay away. In terms personality wise, fight wise, I think he's done some impressive work. I'm gonna go with Steve Erceg here, and this is gonna surprise a lot of people. But I am really good at. Here's what I'm good at. These type of fights, these type of situations. Okay, I'm really good at seeing when an invincible-looking fighter is going to lose for no reason. I predicted Amanda Nunes to get beat by Juliana Pena. I predicted Israel Adesanya to get beat by Sean Strickland. I predicted Robert Whittaker to get beat by Dricus du Plessis, but that one I wouldn't put in the same category. I predict these things sometimes, right? And Pantoja is somebody who I think the world of. I love Pantoja. I've picked him in every fight he's ever had. I picked him to beat Brandon Moreno. I picked him to beat the guy before Brandon Moreno. Who did you fight before Brandon Moreno?
You guys did not
Your wedding night.
You guys did not take the Cannibal in some of those fights, Luke.
I
have definitely been on an island by myself on the Cannibal in the past.
I have picked Cannibal against every single person he has ever fought. I'm pretty sure. I have to go back to him. But regardless, I love the Cannibal. I love him. This is the fight he loses. He loses this fight. Steve Erceg doesn't give a fuck. He's going to go in there and probably knock Pantoja out, honestly. He's probably going to finish him over the 5. What I like is he's taller. He's longer. It doesn't say by much, but I think for some reason he's just going to be more physically imposing in there. I think Pantoja is going to eat a knee, a kick, a punch. He's going to go down. He's going to sit against the cage on his butt and get finished by the 6 years younger fighter. Pantoja's 34 and 2 weeks when this fight takes place. So that's 1 year shy of 35. Steve Erceg is 28. He's taller, he's longer, he's younger, he's faster, he's stronger, he's a better striker. He doesn't give a fuck. He's from Australia. He's from Perth, fucking Western Adelaide, Australia. Like, those people don't care about coming into Brazil. He's going to go into Brazil and just fucking... everyone's going to be like, here's
Jonathan Martinez, jet-lagged flying 8 hours. Astro Boy flying 24 hours to Brazil.
It's like 2 weeks ago to him, and he's like, I don't know. He always, the thing is, he always looks sleepy, like he needs a nap. And my thing with Erceg is this, right? I've picked Pantoja in every fight he's ever had. I've picked against Erceg in every fight he's ever had. I'm going with Erceg here because I think he doesn't give a fuck. I think Alexander Pantoja is an undercover crybaby. The fact that he even was driving Uber, martyrdom syndrome, like, you shouldn't be driving Uber. Like, he's making so much money fighting that the taxes he would have to pay on his Uber earnings. Like, all right, if you make over 20 grand driving Uber, that puts you in a situation tax-wise if you made no other money, right? But he did. He made other money from the UFC. So now your like earnings, you're in a different tax bracket. So now like that Uber money, it's getting chopped into like half pretty much. Okay. I did gig economy work, guys. I can explain.
Luke, both of these are gig economy work. He's a 1099 contractor for the UFC
but
too.
I'm saying with what I'm trying to say is it's useless. It's not worth his time because even if he made $20,000 extra driving Uber, he's going to have to pay such a high tax rate on it. And yeah, you get to depreciate your car and write off your gas and sure, like
the 20 grand was just for the taxes, brother.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Right? It's financial mismanagement, that is like alcoholic woman behavior. So like,
and on top of that, the amount of damage you put on your car doing gig economy work is exponentially worse. Believe me, I used to do it myself.
Alex, you can depreciate it down on your taxes. You can write off the miles and stuff.
No, but your car will be ruined because you're doing so much starting and stopping. Your engine, you're going to blow a catalytic converter. You're going to blow all types of... Luke, listen, car guys like me and Dan, I'm a huge car guy personally. Like I got a 98 Chevy in the front yard. You don't get it. You don't get how cars work. You just drive them, Luke. You take them to a guy. You put it on the arm.
I'm not even going to listen to this. We don't have the time for this, and I'm not even going to listen to this. I know how cars work. You don't know how cars work. We can move on. Like,
you don't have time for it, but you're stirring me up.
Okay. When it comes down to it, Pantoja, he wins the belt. He's crying. He's like, "Are you proud of me now, Dad?" It's like, I would have liked it a little bit better if he didn't do that. Right. I mean, it's like, I don't like the whole, like, I'm in love with my dad stuff. Like when you're a grown man, you're a fighter, you're in the cage, you just win a belt and your whole, so he was crying. I don't like crying.
He's not, he wasn't like in love with his dad though. I thought it was like revenge porn, kind of Sean Strickland-esque. Like,
I know it is, but I'm saying like, don't even mention him. Like, don't bring that up. It's cringe. Don't bring that up. I don't want to hear about that. Like, that's cringe, because it's like your moment, why are you bringing him in? He wasn't there for your whole life. Now you're bringing him in to this moment. Like, that's crazy. So that's a little cringe for me. He was crying. You will agree with me though. He was crying.
So was Sean Strickland.
Again, Sean Strickland lost his last fight. You can't be crying in there. There's no crying.
He didn't lose that.
There's no crying in baseball. There's definitely no crying in cage fighting. It's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It's not the Ultimate Feelings Championship, not the Ultimate Fatherhood or Fatherless Championship. It's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We got to really keep it in. If we don't keep it in that,
John Anik would have you believe it's the Ultimate Fatherhood Championship, going back to his 2 daughters in Colombia.
Shit. So many of these guys would have you believe that. So these guys would have you thinking they're carrying the baby. They would have you thinking they're the ones carrying the baby.
Which brings me up to Ian Machado Gary. As the biggest Ian Machado Gary fan in the world, what you posted on Instagram over the past 3 days, I don't know which one it was, where you're calling out Colby because his foot is still broken from December when you took off 8 months because your wife was having a baby. Your wife was having a baby. and you took off 8 months, and that led to your wife harassing Luke. Luke was harassed because
Listen, if you don't allege harassment, I'm not gonna let's not get nitpicky.
Well, I think harassment's subjective, and
Layla knows
if somebody sent me those messages, Luke, I would feel harassed. And so that is why I'm coming from that angle there.
It was more the comments that she made on the photos individually when she went individually to my individual.
And that's my mother too. You know,
that was a little much. I mean, the direct messages between me and Layla, they can be as spicy as she pleases. It was hot for me. I enjoyed it. It got me. It was cool. But the comments, the public stuff, it's like.
And you know what's funny? All these fighters talk about bringing families into it, right? Bringing families into it. Oh, do anything. Just don't bring my family into it. And Layla Ali Machado over here decides she's going to comment on pictures of Luke and our mother and Luke and his daughter and start talking shit on our family when she damn well knows we can't even meet under the unified rules. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy because every single one of these fighters say, don't bring my family in. I don't care what you say about me, but once you talk about my mom, don't you ever talk about my mom.
So what we'll do is we'll show the direct messages that Layla, Annalie, Machado, Gary sent to me. We'll show the comments that she left on my Instagram page in the Patreon next time me and Gary fights. That's what we'll do. We'll do that, or we'll do it on the public episode. When he fights, actually, we'll do it on the public episode, and we'll dredge.
But somebody who got injured by fighting is rightfully out of fighting, and you were out of fighting looking for strollers, and that's the whole reason with our beef.
And I thought like the whole thing, like the whole reason for the whole reason for us even knowing about his wife is that like she's this marketing genius and this is right and like this industry expert who like understands the industry because she's actually worked in the industry. Let me finish. She actually worked in the industry and things like that. Right? It's like. So that's why we even know who she is anyway. That's why she's even speaking up and tweeting on his behalf or whatever, or DMing. She's always like doing stuff, right, on his behalf, right? Like with these little marketing ideas she has. Her brain's always going. She got all these marketing ideas. Kind of like how every woman is also like a wedding planner and an interior decorator. Every woman's also a social media marketer, right? And every woman's a micro influencer now. So it's like when it comes to this marketing campaign he's launching against Colby, it's weak. It's weak sauce. I mean, it's cringe. It's lame. It's embarrassing. It's 8-year-old stuff. It's for 8-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like we are grown people who watch the UFC and buy pay-per-views. Like we like to see stuff that's like at least interesting, right? And it's him just like saying like this very like cringe 8-year-old like stuff that you can tell when he's saying it, he doesn't even believe it. Like the way he's like forming his face, you can tell it's this like dog and pony show. But the reality is he's a young man and he doesn't even himself know who he is.
Luke, when I saw that video today, it made me change my whole opinion. I used to be #1 ride or die Ian Gary fan, right? #1 fan. But then it all struck me. It all came to me. Everybody wanted to bring up his wife, for all these reasons, but his wife introduced herself to us before anybody was even talking about her. Like we didn't, I didn't know his wife from a fucking hole in the wall. And then all of a sudden she's talking about my mom, which I don't like.
So, I'm picking Steve Erceg and,
yeah. And I'm taking Alexander.
He cried too much. He was crying too much. I don't like crybabies. And Steve Erceg has never cried it ever. I can guarantee you he's never cried. Maybe
I'm going to take Alex Pantoja, but I will. This is another one of my chalk and bet the other guy plays.
All of them are.
Plays of the night. No, not Jose Aldo and not, all right, not Jose Aldo. That's it. All the other ones, the other guy is such a big underdog. You might as well just throw all these huge favorites on a parlay, bet against them in every one of them, except for Jose Aldo because he's the only dog. But I do see a way for Astro Boy to win this. What really I was going to come out here and say Astro Boy. I have had sexy picks in the main event quite a bit in my lifetime. Leon Edwards. 1 and 2, same ones Luke said. Yeah. I was on all those. But I saw my favorite handicapper put out today that he was going with Steve Erceg. And I hate this guy's guts in every sense of the imagination. If you can guess who it is in the comments, I'll give you $20. But I hate everything he says, hate everything he does, hate his personality, hate his persona. Not going to say who it is. But once he said that, I realized that Steve Erceg was not the play. And I knew Alex Pantoja was going to win. Because I love Steve Erceg. Opposite of Luke, I've bet on Steve Erceg every time he was in the UFC, every single one of his fights, and he's won every single one of them, and I loved him for it. So I was going to full confidence go with Steve Erceg here. Then I saw that dumbass Rocky shit he was saying, and then I also saw my favorite handicapper say that he was going with Steve Erceg. So I fade that guy every fucking time he makes a pick like that, and he took Jamal Hill. Believe that. So Alex Pantoja.
Yeah, I like Pantoja here too. I see him getting back control at some point or another. I mean, we kind of have limited footage on Erceg and his grappling, but it looks sufficient, but nothing like crazy good. I think Pantoja is probably the best. No, Tatsura. Tatsura is probably the best grappler at flyweight, and Tim Elliott, but maybe third. Nah, he beats Tim Elliott in jiu-jitsu.
Erceg's amazing everywhere. He's really good at jiu-jitsu, really good at wrestling, really good at boxing, really good at kickboxing. Like he doesn't have a single hole in his game. Like that's why I was going to go with Steve
really. I think his best game is his boxing, the striking. But
I don't know. The first couple fights, dude, he was doing a lot of leg rides while he was grappling people down, putting a hook in, pulling them down from the hips. I'm talking myself into Erceg because these are the reasons I was going to. I literally came in here with all these reasons why I'm taking Erceg, and then I saw one thing, and I was like, not me.
I'm going to bet a lot of money on Erceg.
Okay.
It's going to be my only bet of the night. I'm going to just bet a shitload of money on Erceg. Like my whole,
get it out of your system because the contest is coming up.
Exactly. I'm betting my whole tax return on Erceg, right? Every cent. And then I'm going to win, and it'll be Saturday night. I'll be like at a bar with all my boys except Dan because he forgot to take off work. And I'll be
No, that's not true. I couldn't get off work. Difference.
You couldn't get off work because you didn't tell them in the requisite amount of time necessary to get
No, that's also not true.
Okay.
That is 100% true. I listened to the whole story as a third party, non-partisan.
It would not have mattered if I told them 180 days ago.
I think it would have. I think they could have got somebody to fill your role in 180 days.
Yeah, don't know my job. Nice try though. Don't know my job.
What are you, a fucking brain surgeon? What are you, an astrophysicist? We have no one else for the fucking job.
Alex, he's Steve Erceg. He has to fight this weekend in Brazil. He forgot. Take it out.
We have Jason Bourne. We need him on our most top secret mission in the
He's got
world.
weigh-ins on Friday. He's got the fight on Saturday. Like, it's a whole thing.
He's filling in short notice. Living a double life.
But yeah, so it's going to pop off. I'm going to be like, oh, I just won $1 million on Steve Erceg, the nerdiest guy ever. And I wasn't even watching the fight because I'm lit right now in AC.
I will say that I've never seen Steve Erceg and Dan in the same room. I will 100% say that with full confidence. I have never seen Dan and Steve Erceg in the same room. So I have no deniability to the fact that he might be Steve Erceg and have a fight this weekend.
Well, good luck to you, Steve. I will be
nifty Steve Erceg.
He's way more of a nifty Steve Erceg. He's all right. I'm gonna dub him Nifty Steve. Nifty Steve Erceg. All right, cool.
Dan, who are you going with? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I picked Pantoja.
You picked Pantoja. All right, let's run down the full picks. Everybody.
Luke's gonna lose all of his tax return. And he's gonna get all drunk in Arizona.
Every time.
Sad.
Here's the difference between Luke and I. When I make a bet that is a lot of money, it wins 100% of the time. Dude, when Luke makes a bet that is a lot of money, it loses 100% of the time. There is no in between Luke always thinks he's robbing the bank. I guarantee he brings a ski mask to Arizona. I guarantee he brings one.
Dude, no, I will not be bringing a ski mask, but I will say this. I kind of also like it's a bit like I'm doing it as a joke, but I will be making a large bet on Steve Erceg.
And that's why I was so pissed at you for going hard on me in the group chat for not hedging this past weekend, because I don't hedge as a bit. It's a bit. Any incorrect. You think I really thought Tim Means was going to win last week? No, it's a fucking bit, dude. Tim Means was never going to win. There was no chance Tim Means was going to win.
I mean, honestly, the fact that you picked him talked me into taking Aris Medique by decision at like crazy odds and on a solo shot that I didn't tell anybody about. I didn't even put it in the open bet sheet. I was like, this is stupid, but let's just do this.
I do that all the time in the open bet sheets. I'm like, this is so stupid, but I can't brag about it if I win.
That's my rule. If I win and I don't put it in the open bet sheet, I don't even tell you guys. I don't even tell you guys. I bet $100 on David Unama. I forgot to put it in the open bet sheet. I never told you guys. So like, there's an
well, you just did. You just did.
All right. Sometimes we're running, we're gunning. You know, the open bet sheets are obviously set well in advance, but if it's live, like the fact that I'm even putting live bets in the open bet sheet is so generous and so nice. I do it. And all you need to know is that
I put winning tickets in there 2 weeks ago for UFC 300. I put winning tickets in there live while the card was going.
Yes. So all you need to know
while I had my entire family there for my birthday, I managed to put it into the fucking open bet sheet for you.
We are accountable to this open bet sheet in a way that is psychotic. Like if I travel and I'm like, well, I need my laptop so that I can put in my bets for the people. Like I would feel the most guilt ever. So much guilt and shame that I wouldn't even be able to talk about it on my own show that would benefit from me talking about bets I've won. I would feel so much guilt and shame if I made a bet, didn't put in the open bet sheet and won. I would not even be able to come on and tell you guys because I would just be like, I fucked up. I have a Catholic level of guilt towards this open bet sheet, towards this podcast. I want you guys to know that in my mind, like when I think about my purpose on earth, this is it. It's betting on UFC. It's talking about UFC. And it's dog whistling to you guys about the various things that I want to keep you bereft of, whether it be Project Bluebeam or the Flat Earth and any of these things, guys. But we're going to get into all that later on the Patreon. Get into the Patreon. That's the inner circle. That's where we can be most at home. That's where you can help support the show. What you get, open bets sheet. The open bets sheet has this calendar, this quarter, since December of last year, Alex put a perfect parlay. UFC 300, Alex won over $5,000. This has all been in the open bet sheet.
Week before that, won 1,000.
So we are putting winnings. Bogdan Goose Golf by knockout. That was in the open
No. We are not putting winnings.
I'm putting winnings. And the thing is,
I am putting in winnings.
We got the open bet sheet for you. That's our portal. That's our ability to post what we're betting to you and our picks, nice and neat, listed out for you. Everything's cool. You get an extra episode of the show. You get to support the show. If you're going to join, though, you got to do it for the full year. It's $100 for the full year. Due to inflation, that $100 for the full year, when I set this all up, that $100 was worth $100, right? Now that $100 that I set the price at has deteriorated down to a number that we cannot even calculate. We don't even really know. But one thing is for sure, experts say that a conservative estimate of the inflation is like your money's 4 times more useless. So we'll call it that 100. We'll call that 25. We'll call that $25 now. That's pretty much
the only reason I was able to afford a new studio is because I won all these bets.
So if you're not hip to debt maxing, if you're not hip to any of this stuff, you got to get into it. But overall, the main message is the $100. If you don't have a credit card that can support $100, we don't want you in the Patreon. If you don't have the ability to give us $100 over the course of a year for this 2-hour show we're giving you for free every week, earlier than everyone else's show, for the great betting records, the great pick records, the great show. And this isn't me being indignant. This isn't me being like, no, I'm just saying, like, if you don't have the means, have the ability, don't do it.
But if you have the means to gamble, you have the means.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying if you I'm not unit shaming, but $100 for the full year to support the show that you watch, that you get advice from. If you can't figure out how to turn that $100 investment in more data, in the $100 really, it should.
I bet double that, sometimes times 10 that in a weekend.
It should really just be a tip. The $100 for the year of being a Patreon member should be a tip. It should be, I've watched the free episodes. I've taken your advice. I've won myself over $1,000 now. So here's a $100 tip of 10% or so for the three boys. Split it, right? Like how disrespectful, like us three splitting the $100. Like what I've been doing is just not giving these two anything until like it would actually mean something to them. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, well, for one of us, this is pretty good, but for three of us, not that good. So I've just been giving them nothing. And I'm like, they wouldn't even know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So it's like, just don't even. So what I'm trying to say is, what do you have to lose? And at these rates, I should be handcuffed, put in the back of a padded wagon, taken to a mental hospital, put in there, and left for dead.
And no ads ever. We've neglected monetizing this fucking show.
Not monetizing, no ads, no monetization.
We are a mom and pop shop at heart. This is how we run. This is how we operate. It's all for the people, for you, by you. And you know, whatever you give us is great.
Good. That's good. That's good, Alex. I'm just listening to you. That's good. I like that. Okay, we're practicing our pitches too while we're doing this a little bit. But Dan, do you have anything to say? I mean, what's your pitch? Like, I mean, for my pitch is like, if you can't do it, it's embarrassing for you.
Oh, if it's minus 250, it's gonna win. It must. Oh.
Dan's Mark.
What even is that? It's not even fun.
You and Mark Norman.
My pitch is the show is free. You bet money, $100. Anyone can pay that, even in today's economy. You know, apparently jobs are up, so I know you got a job. And with inflation, it's fine. It's fine. That's $100. That's a week worth of groceries. You got it. Give it to us. We'll lose it, but it's okay. It's virtuous.
If you neglect Dan and Luke's open bet sheet, as you should, and only look at mine, you would have enough money to pay for that 60 times. 60 times you could have paid for that if you just subscribed, looked at the open bet sheet.
That'll take you well into your 80s.
That'll take you well into your 80s. And at that point, who knows if this show will even still be here or if Charles Barkley will replace me. Dwayne Wade might replace Luke, and Dwayne Wade's significant other, Gabby Union, might replace Dan.
All righty then. Well, you just fart into the microphone?
Yeah.
Dan, that was...
And you get some of that. You get some of that action.
This is crazy.
In this episode, dude. I don't...
At least...
Caralho.
At least can that fart.
You guys have been long-winded. I figured I'd add a little bit of wind of my own.
Me Foley!
Oh, Dan.
I feel like a national Larry Bozy bear.
Can of beans breaking wind out of your can. Oh.
Well, can you just go to the Patreon and join us so we can get into the next episode? That would be great. We're going to break down the prelims. We're going to talk
and thank you all for the 25,000 views on my reel I posted on Instagram. Go blow that fucking thing up.
Yes,
Rampage Jackson commented on it. Paulo Costa commented on it. It was great. Guys, go look at my Instagram. Euro Under King at
Euro Under King at Euro Under King on Instagram. Great reel, Alex. 25,000 views with a Rampage Jackson endorsement, with a Paulo Costa comment. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Paulo Costa didn't necessarily endorse it. He was like, brah, fake AI, motherfucker.
Yes, and then that was great. Paulo's the man. My girlfriend loves you, Paulo, and, you know, well, DM me for details on that one, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you guys. Poha, karai. We'll see you guys later.